Sabotage. We got to get into this article. We also got Dan Dockage bombing on Kathy Engelbert. So much to get into. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated as always. Let's get right into things. So this is courtesy of thespun.com. Okay, here it says, Caitlin Clark parents made their thoughts on the WNBA very, very clear. And I thought it was very clear without even reading this article. I mean, they don't even want to go to the damn games anymore. That's disgusting that it's gotten that bad.
A recent article has drawn attention to comments about Caitlin Clark's parents and their growing distance from WNBA games. Reports indicate the two, once regular fixtures at every Iowa game, are rarely if ever shown on camera at Indiana Fever matchups anymore. Their absence appears tied to frustration with officiating, league management, coaching decisions, and what many describe as a chaotic environment surrounding the team.
It's gotten that bad to where her parents don't even want to, I can't stomach watching this in person anymore. That's bad. It's bad. It's very, very bad. Here it says, it's a strange time for Caitlin Clark. The #1 overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft has been subject to much controversy and debate. Okay. Very little of which is her own doing. Clark has been subject of...
According to the piece, sourced from thespun.com, Clark's parents have made their feelings about the league unmistakably clear, largely by simply staying away. The article notes that this marks an unusual period for Clark, the top pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, who has found herself at the center of ongoing controversy and debate, much of it unrelated to her own conduct. She has become a focal point for discussions involving race, physical play, and broader debates about women's sports, prompting a group of federal lawmakers to publicly call on the league to address the situation. One statement from Congress noted that what has been observed too often goes beyond hard-nosed competition, describing it instead as repeated instances of excessive physical aggression.
Clark has been subject of racial debates, heated conversations, women's sports theories, and more. In fact, a group of U.S. lawmakers have gotten involved, urging the WNBA to do better. We all know Congress felt the need to step in on this situation. Okay, here's a quote where it says, unfortunately, what we too often witness is not simply aggressive play, but repeated acts of unnecessary physical hostility and violence. That was Congress, okay? And they kind of detailed some of the things, okay?
For her part, Clark has publicly rejected the hostility directed at the league, stating that harassment and hatred are never acceptable. She emphasized that questioning someone's character has no place in the conversation, adding that she was raised to believe that firmly.
Kind of detailed some of the things, okay? Now, here it says, Clark, to her credit, has made it clear that she condemns all of the hatred coming the WNBA's way. She was quoted as saying the harassment, the hate, none of that is okay. The two-time WNBA All-Star said there should never be question of character. Like, I've always stood up here and said that, and that's truly what I believe, and that's how I was raised. So none of that is okay, and I don't want anyone to experience that. Clark's parents certainly backed her. Clark's parents on WNBA stars struggle with online hatred and discourse, though. Clark admitted
Clark has also acknowledged that while her parents remain supportive of the league overall, they've struggled with the surrounding negativity. This isn't limited to general online hostility. It includes watching their daughter absorb an outsized share of physical fouls, reportedly more than any other player over the past several seasons, despite her role in generating enormous financial growth for the league. Clark noted that her parents are affected by all of it, pointing out that they're regular people with real emotions, and that the situation weighs on them. She explained that she's developed a way of tuning out the noise, calling it a necessary skill in her position, one she believes would otherwise become overwhelming. She reiterated that her parents no longer attend games regularly, largely due to their discomfort with everything happening around the team.
Hatred and discourse, though. Clark admitted at the start of her WNBA career that while her parents loved the league, they struggle with all the hatred and discourse surrounding it all. Now, make no mistake about it. The struggle that they're experiencing isn't just like, oh, online people being mean to other players or whatever. No, they also are struggling watching their kid being targeted in these games. The most flagrantly foul player in the league in the last 3 years combined. I mean, just all of this stuff.
Separately, Commentary has emerged criticizing NBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's handling of media scrutiny, with claims that she has avoided answering questions about her performance and has largely stayed out of the public eye. Critics argue she has failed to provide the strong leadership the league needs, suggesting that nearly every situation she's been involved in has turned into a public relations issue. There have been calls for her resignation, with critics arguing she has proven repeatedly unable to lead effectively and comparing the current state of the league to a punchline rather than a respected sports organization.
I mean, just all of this stuff. This girl's helped everybody get rich, and all she's done is be subject to targeting and all of this other stuff. They have a hard time seeing that too. Okay? She's quoted as saying, they see all this stuff too. You have to remember, we're regular people with feelings. My parents have feelings. It can definitely be hard at times, Clark said in an interview. Her parents have feelings. I don't think people have taken that into account.
Commentary further suggested that a stronger leadership presence, someone willing to take a firm stance regardless of gender, could better manage the constant stream of controversies plaguing the league. While isolated controversies are normal in sports, critics argue the NBA has instead experienced non-stop distractions on a near-weekly basis, driving away fan interest rather than building it. Despite having the most talked-about player in the sport's history under her watch, Engelbert has reportedly remained largely silent on major issues, according to the criticism.
People have taken that into account. I don't think the players care, the players that have been targeting her, the players that have thrown hatred and jealousy and all this other stuff her way. She's quoted as saying, honestly, I feel like I have a pretty good skill of blocking everything out. I think being in this position, you better have that skill or else it's going to break you at some point. And that is pretty much what how her parents are feeling. And that's what Caitlin Clark had to say. Like, look, my parents are struggling with this. They don't even come to the games anymore. Because they are so disgusted.
Additional remarks argued that Engelbert has appeared to retreat from public scrutiny since the recent collective bargaining agreement was finalized, only to face renewed backlash whenever she does step into view. Critics described her leadership style as having given in to the loudest and most disruptive voices rather than confronting them, arguing that a person in her position cannot afford to shy away from difficult decisions, whether the issue involves officiating standards, the treatment of Clark, off-court drama, or any number of ongoing storylines. The overall assessment offered was that there appears to be no resolution in sight, with critics placing the blame squarely on a perceived unwillingness to lead. The sentiment was summed up simply: lead, follow, or step aside, and many now believe it's time for Engelbert to do the latter.
They don't even come to the games anymore because they are so disgusted with all of this stuff that is going on. Now, we got to get the Dan Dockage bombing on Kathy Engelbert. Kathy Engelbert is ducking the media. She has no answers for the shit job she's done. Pardon my language. She's done an awful job. She doesn't want to answer to it, and she's ducking and hiding.
Proven time and time again. What if the of the WNBA to resign? She is incapable of providing strong leadership. She has not catapulted this league into anything other.
It's unusual to come across a major outlet publishing something favorable about Caitlin Clark, let alone an article calling out how she's been treated and mismanaged by the league. Finding a piece like that feels almost rare enough to comment on. This time, the Wall Street Journal published a piece that actually leans in Clark's favor, which stands in sharp contrast to coverage from outlets like Awful Announcing, Front Office Sports, or other sports media that usually take a different angle.
But I saw this and was like, holy shit. This is so rare. The Wall Street Journal, a pro Caitlin Clark article. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about this. What is wrong with the WNBA, question mark? How much time you got? How much time you got? We can chop it up for the next, 72 hours straight, if you'd like. There's plenty wrong with the league. First and foremost, it's a league full of...
The article opens by criticizing the league itself, describing it as shaped heavily by activism and cause-driven messaging. It points out that women's professional basketball has struggled for decades to build a real following, staying financially propped up, largely through its connection to the NBA. That's a notably blunt assessment coming from a mainstream financial publication.
First and foremost, it's a league full of activists and agenda. Good God. The Women's Professional Basketball League has never really caught on. For decades, the only thing keeping it afloat was money from the cash factory known as the NBA. Wow. Shots fired from the Wall Street Journal. Then suddenly, you notice how different this is than a anti-constable or a front office sports or athletic article. Oh my God.
The piece goes on to describe how certain players get framed in the media. Paige Buecher's praised as bold and inspiring, Angel Reese highlighted for her advocacy work, Alyssa Thomas portrayed sympathetically after past incidents. Then Clark entered the league, and the article frames her as the player who could pull the 1BA out of its financial struggles. Her presence and skill, according to the piece, gave the league a genuine shot at sustaining itself the way other sports found breakout stars. Comparing her potential impact to what Wayne Gretzky
Sports or athletic article. Oh my God. No, Paige Bueckers is a legend. Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's brave, stunning, and courageous. She loves black women everywhere. Oh, Angel Reese. Oh my God, Alyssa Thomas is a victim. Then suddenly, Caitlin Clark arrived. The Indiana Fever Guard seemed like the savior the WNBA's been waiting for. She could help get the struggling league off life support.
The question raised is why the league's leadership doesn't seem to be capitalizing on that. The article brings up her exclusion from the 2024 Olympic roster as one clear misstep. It also notes how she's been targeted physically on the court while officiating often fails to protect her, and points to a promotional poster marking the league's 30th anniversary that left off its most recognizable player entirely, something described as a clear embarrassment. The piece states she remains the one name in the league that casual sports fans are most likely to recognize, though Sophie Cunningham's recent stretch of play has started to earn her some recognition too.
Been waiting for. She could help get the struggling league off life support. Her charisma and her ability could enable the WNBA to earn its keep. Finally earn its keep. Damn, got to be more careful. She could do for women's basketball what Wayne Gretzky did for hockey, what Tiger Woods did for golf, what the Williams sisters did for women's tennis. Miss Clark has what it takes to put the WNBA on the map for real and for good. So why does it seem like...
According to the article, some within the league view Clark unfavorably, describing her as difficult, overly emotional on the court, quick to react to physical fouls, and connected to a fan base they're uncomfortable with. But the deeper issue the piece identifies isn't about her personality or supporters. It points to something more fundamental, noting she is a straight white player in a league whose roster is described elsewhere as predominantly black and openly queer. That distinction, the commentary suggests, cuts to the heart of tension surrounding her.
On the map for real and for good. So why does it seem like the powers that be are trying to make sure it doesn't happen? She was left off the 2024 Olympic team roster. We haven't forgotten that. We have not forgotten that. What a boneheaded move. Opponents treat her like a punching bag while the referees look the other way. A poster celebrating the league's 30th anniversary somehow didn't include its biggest star. Embarrassment. Total embarrassment.
There's real doubt about whether Clark alone can turn this into a mainstream league, mainly because everyday sports fans generally don't want political messaging mixed into their entertainment, and many will simply stop watching if that's what they get. Few audiences intentionally shrink themselves the way this league seems to be doing. The framing here is that Clark's popularity has become inconvenient for those who see the league less as an independent sports business and more as a platform for activism, pointing to things like the league's Social Justice Council and commentators such as Matthew Hennessy weighing in on the discussion.
Embarrassment. Miss Clark is the only WNBA player whose name the average American sports fan has ever heard of. Would you throw Sophie on there now in the last, let's say, 6 weeks? Sophie Cunningham, you could also say. But yeah, Caitlin Clark mainly. Let's be real. Evidently, this distresses some who consider her a poor ambassador for the league. Miss Clark has, quote, an attitude, they say. She's emotional on the court. She complains about hard fouls.
The article then compares this to how FIFA handled star power during the World Cup. Ask an average American sports fan a few weeks ago to name an international soccer player, and the likely answers would have been Messi or Ronaldo. Yet the tournament introduced a much wider range of players to American audiences. Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, and Harry Kane, even though Kane recently drew criticism over golfing with a political figure. The lesson, according to the piece, is that elevating individual stars benefits the sport as a whole. American interest in soccer has grown in a way that seems likely to last, and FIFA appears to understand something the WNBA hasn't grasped, that generational talent is rare, and leagues only get a limited window to win over new fans before it closes. That means promoting your best players, giving them every opportunity to shine, and making sure no one gets away with physically targeting your top star.
Quote an attitude, they say. She's emotional on the court. She complains about hard fouls. She has the wrong fans. Oh, bunch of MAGA, racist, hateful fans. Oh, my God. But the WNBA's problem with Ms. Clark isn't her behavior or her fans. It's more mutable than that. She's a straight white girl. A media outlet said it. She's a straight white girl in a league whose players, according to The Ringer, are, quote, primarily black and openly queer.
The broader claim is that this window is already closing for the league when it comes to Clark. Viewership has reportedly been slipping with every uncalled hard foul, every questionable minutes restriction, every coaching decision that seems to discourage engagement, and every instance of players publicly pushing causes like demanding more black coaches instead of focusing on competition. The argument made is that fans want to see the most capable players and coaches regardless of background, and that mixing politics into the product turns people away. It's also noted that the talent pool across the league is thin. Most teams carry only a handful of players capable of carrying a game on a given night, which makes for an inconsistent product. Combined with coaching systems that don't feature Clark prominently, the pattern described is one of a shrinking audience.
Really black and openly queer. Guys, we're talking about professional sports, and this has to be brought up. That's everything wrong with the WNBA. That's everything wrong with it. Let's be real. I don't even know if Caitlin Clark can make this a mainstream league. Because of that. Your everyday American sports fan.
Overall, the take is that this kind of